welcome to the second episode of the Commented Out podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Max.
And I'm your host, Addy. Veronica will be joining us a little bit later on today. And today we have very special guest, Sarah. Please welcome Sarah.
Hi, everybody. I'm super happy to be on this show. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so today we'll talk about different things about like Sarah's journey through CS, through school and stuff, and just kind of just to kind of go through how it is to make a to be a CS student, because Sarah is in an upper year right now, and she does have experience with different things that we do since we're just like kind of freshmen. So
Yeah.
So just kind of talk about her experience there and stuff.
Yeah. So Sarah is a upper year student at the same university as us, Carleton, but she originally came from University of Waterloo in Ontario. So Sarah, what are some like differences or similarities between Waterloo and here?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a third year student at Carleton University. I was at the University of Waterloo and Wilfrid Laurier University at the same time for 3 years. I was doing a double degree in business and computer science. So I'm actually surprised to find out that there's not that many differences in what I'm studying now here at Carleton and what I was studying at Waterloo. I've been like really pleasantly surprised with my education here in the past year or so. It's been really fun, and I feel like I've been learning a lot more because Carleton courses tend to be a bit more practical and a bit more hands-on than the more theoretical courses I was doing at Waterloo. So I feel like I've had more chances to, make projects, that kind of thing, learn more, actually apply my skills in the workplace. Whereas I didn't really get to learn that much of that kind of thing back when I was at the University of Waterloo. So all in all, I think it's been going pretty great. Another big difference would be that the co-op program is less relevant here, less emphasized here at Carleton than it is for Waterloo. And for me, that's been a really positive change because I found that the Waterloo competitive co-op culture was kind of starting to get to me. It's you have to be a really special type of person to not be affected by it, because they're not joking when they say it's Cali or bust. They're really not. People actually get so caught up in this cycle of only applying to California companies and being so dejected and depressed when they don't get there, and comparing themselves. Like every interview cycle, everybody posts their new internships on LinkedIn and Facebook, and everyone's feeling upset about it. And it's really competitive, and everyone's kind of comparing themselves. And it wasn't like a healthy environment. Like I really seriously felt like that was all the world was. And when I left and I came here to Carleton, people here take internships a lot more casually, which is a good thing, I believe. And they only apply to jobs that they actually like, instead of just jobs, that are more impressive and that they can show off with. So for me here, it felt like, wow, there's actually like a whole world outside where I can apply to companies that aren't in California. I can apply to companies that aren't, the big ones. So that's been a really positive change in my life, I feel.
So would you say like there's like a lot of pressure to just get into a company in America or in California? Like, you mean, is it like Silicon Valley? Like everyone wants to work in like...
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, yeah. At Waterloo, this is just my experience. So there might be other Waterloo students who are listening who maybe might disagree, but I doubt it, because this is a very prevalent culture. It's not just computer science and engineering. Everyone at the University of Waterloo knows that we have this culture in our tech programs. So it's kind of considered that if you graduate and you stay in Canada, that you kind of failed at life, even though your dream company could be in Canada, your dream career, your dream industry could be in Canada. You could be going to research, but if you're not going to Silicon Valley or California, even like New York and Seattle, those are kind of considered like a little bit lower tiers. Obviously still impressive because it's America, but like Silicon Valley is it. And you kind of consider like, oh, well, how come you're not in California? How come you're not at Google? Like nobody really says it to you, but it's kind of like the idea. And it's so stupid because there's so many jobs in this industry. There's so many fields you can go into, and not all of them are going to be in that one city, So yeah, it's nice to have a bit more perspective now, like I was so narrow-minded before because I was caught up in that. So yeah, that's a problem, I feel.
And actually, and you kind of brought up a good point when you were talking about like the whole like the competitive nature of the program at Waterloo. And I kind of just want to ask you with regards to that, like did you also feel a difference in like social life in terms of like how easy it is to make friends or how easy it is to connect with like other students like from here than it is at Carleton versus Waterloo? Sorry.
So this is gonna be surprising. I actually found it easier to make friends at Waterloo because, first of all, it's a much bigger university. We have so many more students in our program. Like the CS program is huge. Like it's like thousands and thousands of students, and there are a lot of international students. There's people from everywhere, And I found that people there were more willing to make friends because a lot of them, nobody's really from Waterloo. Waterloo's a tiny city. So people come from everywhere else and they don't have friends to begin with. So everyone's a lot more open to socializing. And there's a lot more women. The gender ratio is a lot better at Waterloo as well. It's like one female to four male students, I believe, like the last time I checked. And that means there's a lot of girls. There's so many girls. So I felt like I had a community there where I could, like hang out with friends who were female in computer science, talk about stuff, talk about, the industry, things like that. I didn't feel isolated in that sense there. I did feel isolated academically for sure because I felt like I was struggling more than my peers were because of reasons I found out later. So at the time it was kind of challenging. But at Carleton, when I transferred here, I was expecting it to be so easy to make friends because it's supposed to be a more social university. And I struggled. For the first term, I barely made any friends because everyone kind of kept to themselves. Everyone had their friends from their Ottawa high schools or the Toronto high schools or whatever. And nobody was really open to hanging out or anything like that. And for me, since I transferred into my second year or so, I wasn't in first year. So I didn't, get to make those first year connections with like people who were trying to make friends. Everyone already had their friends by second year, that kind of thing. So the number one thing that I did that really helped me find friends is I started hanging out at the Carleton Computer Science Society. So there's a lounge on campus, and I used to hang out there and talk to people. There were some people I recognized, like our president, William, and then I met some of the other execs, like Tiffany and Chantel at the time. And it was really awesome. So that's where I started making some connections, and people kind of started recognizing me, like, oh, hey, that's Sarah. And, that's been really helpful. Like, I feel like that's, like, the biggest decision I made when it comes to having a social life at Carleton, because before that, I was really struggling. Like, I would be doing everything alone. And it was kind of isolating, especially since I'm a very social person, and I had a huge group of friends at Waterloo. So, yeah, but I recommend that to like new students in computer science who are trying to make some more friends in their program to hang out. Talk to the execs. Like you can talk to the execs of the CCSS. I'm an exec right now. You can talk to me. Like we actually exist as a club to support you and be a community. So yeah.
That's a good point. And yeah, that's a really good tip for a lot of first years because I know personally, like if I guess it's kind of weird, but it kind of worked out for me that we were online because it was like better for me to make friends because I'm like a super shy person, like when it comes to in person. So I guess it kind of worked out with like how I like made friends more easily, because like I was like way more like talkative on text than I would be if I was like meeting someone face to face. But like for those that are coming in, it definitely helps to kind of socialize with other people and like get involved in other clubs. And just for context, the club that Sarah was talking about, CCSS, it's the Carleton Computer Science Society, where basically all of the computer science students, whether you're doing a major or a minor, kind of are part of it. And yeah, and they hold like several events. They help with just including all the members and making them feel welcome to Carleton and kind of like making it a smooth transition process from high school to university, which otherwise could be very hard. Like Sarah was mentioning, it can be hard to like make friends right off the bat, but that really helps introducing people and kind of meeting new people. Yeah. So thanks for that tip.
Yeah. So our third host has joined the call. Veronica, what's going on?
Hello, I'm here. I was a little late, so sorry.
It's alright.
It's all good. Actually, like just listening to you guys talk, what Addie said about how it's better for him, like we're actually talking about this. I don't think I would have been, pretty good friends with Addie if, we didn't meet online. Because I thought he was such an outgoing guy. He was an extrovert, whatnot, right? And he was telling me, yeah, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that's something that's super interesting about online school that I've noticed is that I feel like I've made friends with a lot of people that I wouldn't have otherwise made friends with. Like I feel like there's a lot of people that I've been talking to and meeting and socializing with that when I find more about who they are in their personal life, like it seems like they're not like the crowd that I would have hung out with in high school. So I'm really glad that it's kind of like an opportunity, I guess, because like when you're online, you don't see the person that you're talking to. You don't really know much about like how they act in real life versus how they're talking to you online. So I feel like you can learn a lot about someone without having to like having like your personal like prejudgments be like placed upon them from like the first glance.
Exactly, and like as much as like we say that it's kind of like you can't really judge a person like by how they look or like how they talk and stuff. You still have that kind of inherent bias where you're just like you see someone and you're like, I don't know, I don't think I'm going to be like a good friend with this person just because of the way that they talk to people or like their body language or I don't know, like different types of different components. But then when it comes to online, you're just seeing someone behind a screen, perhaps if you're on webcam. But most of the time, you're not even on webcam, so you don't even know. You just hear their voice, right? So like that also really helps with just getting introduced to people and just like kind of talking to them.
Mm.
And actually, so, and I just kind of want to bring up another point. So, uh, you're kind of like a, well, I don't want to say like a minority in computer science, but like kind of like from the stereotypical, like as you being like a woman in computer science. Have you like faced like personally, have you faced any challenges kind of being in this field which is like predominantly male?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I enjoy. I don't know if enjoy is the right word, but I like talking about this because I feel like it's important for people to be aware. This is still a thing that happens in 2021. So I have faced judgment, I have faced criticism, I have faced like hostility for being a woman in computer science, and it's obviously not as bad as it used to be. Like I'm still privileged. I still get to go to university. I still, I'm able to somewhat do okay on my courses, that kind of thing. Like I'm not struggling to the point where someone thinks I should not be in the program anymore. So like some people do struggle with that. People with like learning disabilities, people with disabilities in general. So yeah, so it's not terrible, but it is a thing that happens, and I think it's when people deny that it's not a thing, when they say it's not a thing, I think they really don't know what they're looking at. So, for example, when I was at the University of Waterloo, a lot of the male students, by male students I mean like like everybody that isn't a female, right? So like most of the male students actually had this idea that the girls in our classes, like the girls, like for example, me, other girls in their classes, got into the University of Waterloo at a lower admission rate, and that's not a thing that happens in Canada. We don't actually do that. And like when I heard about this, when I saw people talking about this on Reddit, I actually had someone say this to me to my face, like this kind of thing, like coming up in a conversation, and it shocked me. Like these girls are with you in your classes, they're doing as well as you, they're graduating with you, that kind of thing. They're getting amazing internships, and you still think that they weren't qualified to be here. And that's like I don't even know where this comes from. Like it's so outlandish to me. It's so absurd that you sit in a classroom and you see a girl, or you see, for example, a black man, the black student in class, or a gay person in class, and you still assume that they don't deserve to be here. They're not good enough at computer science. That tech is not for them. They're here because someone gave them an extra chance. And like that's pretty offensive. I find it kind of insulting. I find it kind of painful. And I've had my friend group that was mostly guys. They never really had that kind of idea going on, but like everybody else would have those judgments. So for example, if I joined a hackathon team, or if I joined like something even like lighthearted, like a little bit of a trivia game or something, I would have to prove myself to be on the team because I'm a woman. So they ask me like, how much experience have you had before? Like, are you good at this? Are you good at that? Like, show us your resume. Where did you work? And then later on, like a couple minutes later, they'll pull up some random guy and he'll come join our team. And I'll be like, hey bro, just come join. And there's no like interrogation process. There's no like mini interview in quotations that I had to go through to be part of a team. And that's just not fair. It's really not fair.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things that I know every single woman in computer science has faced is when you get an internship and it's considered to be a good one, like something special. It's not even anything too fancy. Like I haven't worked at a really big name companies. Wouldn't say that I have, but even in companies that I worked at, people would be like, oh, they would just assume, guys, sometimes girls as well, would just assume that you got your position because you're a girl.
So
And like they don't even check your resume. They don't even look at your GitHub. They don't look at your stuff. They don't look at your skills. But because you're a girl, they assume you got it because you're a girl. And it's just not fair. Because if a guy got the same position, you're never gonna be like it's a quota. You're never gonna say that. So that to me is like straight up sexism. Because like if you would treat a girl differently than a guy, then that's not fair. Like you're assuming that I got it because I'm a girl. For example, when girls get into Google, girls get into Microsoft, it's like, oh, they're girls. It's like, have you bothered to look at their resume? Have you asked them what their experiences are? If you're saying that before even checking, or if you're even saying that at all, or thinking about it, then that's prejudice, that's bias, and it's just not fair. It really hurts us because it really exacerbates your imposter syndrome that we all have. Like men have that too. Everybody has that. But for women, you get told like verbally that you're not good enough. You're only here because you fulfill a quota, or you're only here so they can take pictures of you and put it on their website because you're a girl, you're a brown girl, or you're a Muslim woman. Like that's happened to me. Like people would have implied that. And it's just I don't think it's fair. It really impacts confidence, and I can get that it's like there's some levels of jealousy there. For example, like for some guys, when girls get the position they want, they can't wrap their heads around the fact that a girl might be better, technically,
yeah.
or better as an employee, or better as a team member. That's not possible for them to imagine. But that's the case. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes girls are great. Sometimes guys are great. Like this is an open industry. Everyone should have the chance, So that's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah. So even more like I guess like concerning than like I guess um, friends and peers and colleagues thinking that you got the position because of your minority status or your gender.
Mhm.
Have you noticed any like interviewers or jobs that you think you may not have gotten because the interviewers or the person who was hiring you thought that you got the position because of, I guess, your status?
Yeah, this doesn't seem to this hasn't happened to me often, but my very first job was at a company called Manulife. It's the insurance company, and I'm gonna openly talk about this because I feel like you shouldn't have to hide when someone treats you wrong, you know. And I was hired, and I was given an offer, and I was so excited. I was, this is great. This is my first job ever. It's gonna be awesome. And at the time, I'm a Muslim woman. I used to wear hijab, and I went into the workplace, and it was a very predominantly white workplace, and they were all kind of like, I would say 40 to 50 range, so they weren't even young people, you know. And they all had these very like conservative ideas about Muslims and that kind of thing. And I was hired, and I was hired thinking that I was good enough. You know, I was like, I was going to. They hired me because I'm good at what I'm gonna do. They're excited to have me here. But I think at the end of it, when I realized how, the way I was treated, and I was treated with discrimination. Like, for example, I had my manager actually tell me that she thinks that the hijab is oppressive to Muslim women, and this is my third day at work, and she told me this, and I had to just laugh it off, and like I didn't know how to react. I was so shocked, you know. And she was just like, "Oh, I think it's oppressive what you wear." You know, things like that. And like, and it's just like, this is not a conversation you can have with anybody, but
Yeah, especially in a
definitely not your
workplace.
employee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely not your employee. Like you're like casting like judgment, and which is wrong. You know, like this is like, this is not something you can like assume about somebody. I'm not going to assume something about someone else's religion. This is not a thing that you do. Period. Right? But in a workplace, it creates an unsafe environment. And this is going to get kind of detailed, but this was back in 2017 when there was a lot of terrorist attacks happening by ISIS, and ISIS was like very active, that kind of thing. And in the lobby, we would have a TV, and every day they would play that on the TV because it was like the news channel. And I would walk in into the lobby to get my, you know, get my Tim Hortons, all that, wearing hijab. I was the only person wearing hijab in the building, and people would whisper about me. They'd point at me. They'd whisper about my hijab, and they'd compare me to ISIS. Like I could hear them associating television with what I was wearing on my head. And
Yeah.
I felt so unsafe. I felt so discriminated, and I just felt like so small. Like I felt like I felt like I had to be whiter and less Muslim to fit in. Like I felt like I had to laugh these things off and be like, "Oh, that's just your opinion," you know. And it was very, I didn't realize how badly it impacted my self-esteem and confidence until it was over. Then I realized that I was discriminated against. Like I would be told these things. I would have people pointing at me, and these are educated people. Like they're managers. They're very educated. They have master's degrees, and this is how they're treating like an intern. I'm a student, and it just wasn't fair. And I think that this opportunity, I was hired because I guess I was good enough, and because they wanted to make a point by being diverse. But then they also didn't respect me. So I think even when women are apparently hired for diversity, and you think it's an amazing thing, you know, like, oh my gosh, you got a job at Google, you don't know how they're being treated if they are being hired just for a quota. They don't take you seriously. They don't think you're good enough. You're kind of just a face of something. Like they're not going to give you work. They're not going to, you know, treat you with respect. So I don't see if this is like a thing to be jealous of, or think this is a thing that's as simple to be said, like that women have more chances than men. I don't think that's true. So this is just my experience with being a quota. It only happened once, very openly. Every other opportunity that I've had, I've been able to prove my skills. I've been hired for my skills, and I've been able to, you know, do better. I've been able to learn. And yeah, so this is a very disappointing start to my career, but it's been better since then.
Okay.
I think
That's
that's so
good.
interesting
Yeah.
because, like, my brother, he actually just finished like a term co-oping at Manulife, and he, like, the way he described it was very predominantly white and like old,
Mhm.
right? However, he felt like he could be like, I don't know, he kind of felt like they really liked him because he was um kind of, I don't know, they kind of thought of him as like, oh, he's super duper like different from like the rest of our interns because, you know, he's from Waterloo, he's Asian. Like he gave like his manager or whatnot, I gave him like a really good rating. And my brother was telling me I was just sitting around doing like I wasn't doing a lot of stuff, you know what I mean? And I think that is like just like the total, like I don't know if they like discriminate or like did that because he was Asian or whatnot, right? But it just sounded like such a different like experience for him. And yeah, it was in 2020 though.
But
Yeah.
Or
one
2019.
thing, like one thing to kind of bring up there is that there's also the difference in like genders, right? Like your
Mhm.
brother is like a male, and then Sarah is a female. So that kind of comes back
Yeah.
to our original point, was with women in computer science and just how they're oppressed, right? So that can also kind of like, if anything, that can also probably like further prove of how like if it's a male, it's gonna be like, oh yeah, like you're fine, right? You make a mistake, everybody makes mistakes. But when it's like a woman in computer science, it's like, oh, how'd you even make it here? Oh, you made a mistake. You maybe like you weren't even supposed to have the job. You just have it because I don't know, you met a diversity quota if we hired you.
Mm.
And I guess that kind of goes to show that that's probably like a maybe good example, right? Like
Yeah, and
no
another
hate
thing
towards
is,
like any companies here, but like
yeah,
yeah, but yeah, for sure, like that's that that kind of just goes to show what you can face as like being different from the
hmm
general public of
for standing out,
whoever.
for sticking out in the
Exactly,
environment. Exactly.
exactly, yeah, and for standing out in like in an industry that's like dominant with one type of person, right?
hmm
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that I would say is like I'm so glad your brother had a nice experience. So like since the first year that I worked there, management changed. So we had a new they have a new CEO now. They've had like a bit more like inclusivity training kind of thing. It's not amazing. It's still not some place where I would want to go back. But it has made some strides. So I'm really glad that your brother had a positive experience. But for me, I feel like there was two layers to it. So for example, there was my race as a brown person. I'm very obviously brown, and I'm Pakistani. So that was very obvious to them. I could not pass as a white person. I was a white employee. And another thing was that my religion was very obvious too because I was wearing my hijab. And there was a lot of anti-Muslim sentiment at the workplace. And so all of those things together was kind of very hostile for me. The second term that I worked there was like a eight months after I went back because I had an offer for me there. I interviewed and I found another team. And this time the manager was amazing. She was amazing. I don't have nothing bad to say about her. She was honestly awesome. Like she was great. But the work environment was still very, very white, very like I was still treated. I still felt like I was treated like a second class employee or an intern because of my skin tone, because of my color, because of my race. So never from my manager, never from the technology department, but this would come from like the business side, where they have a bit more like I would say a bit more like conservative mindset when it comes to other races, that kind of thing. A bit more, a bit more snobbiness, a bit more, less inclusive. That's what I think they were. Because sometimes I'd speak to somebody who's on the business side and ask them a question, and they'd speak to me in such an aggressive way. And one time there was like spit involved. And I remember thinking like, hey, this is not behind the scenes McDonald's. This is not like the kitchen in McDonald's. This is a Fortune 500 company, and I'm being shouted at for asking a question. And like that's when I realized like, hey, it doesn't matter how much they pay me because I was getting paid enough for me to feel comfortable, for me to want to go back. But that's when I realized it doesn't matter how much they pay me. I'm not comfortable here. Like this is not a good environment for me. I feel like crap. Like I remember I used to cry every day I went home because I felt so unwelcome in that atmosphere. I would smile at these white ladies working there, like these white middle-aged women working there, just to be friendly because we're sharing a workspace. Why not? And they would just glare at me. And it's like I know you hate that I'm here. I know you hate that I'm an immigrant. I'm a child of an immigrant. I'm coming here taking your job. Like this is the kind of like atmosphere that there was, and it was very open. And like it was just like I never once felt welcome, and that's just an experience I don't want anybody else to go through. So ever since then, whenever someone has come to me and talked about an experience where they didn't feel welcome in the workplace, I tell them to never go back. I wish I'd known I could do that back then because I was just looking for a job. I needed to support myself for tuition, that kind of thing, and I regret it now. But like I'm so glad it's over and behind me now.
Mm. Yeah.
That's actually really like one thing that you said there is like kind of the sad part about it, where it's like I know that's how you feel. It's kind of sad that like it's kind of accepted at this point, right? Because even like the person that's getting oppressed or like getting discriminated for who they are, they kind of just accept it, and that's not normal. That's not what it should be like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think one of the big reasons I learned to accept it is because I spent my whole life, my whole childhood watching my dad being treated like this at the workplace. So it's
Ooh.
kind of like generational. Like my dad would come home and be like, "Oh, this person was this rude to me. This person said that. I've been passed up for promotion because someone can speak English better. Like someone sounds white when they speak English, that kind of thing. Or someone with less experience and who's a white person gets a promotion. Where my dad is a senior and he couldn't, like a senior engineer and he never did. And like this is like stuff that this is the experience that my dad had. And I just saw how hard my dad worked, and it just felt like if I just put my head down and work, I'll still get where I want to be, and this is not important. Like, and I just felt like I didn't deserve better, or that it wasn't possible for people with my religion and my skin tone to get better. And it makes me sad now because like I was so accepting of it because it wasn't shocking. It wasn't shocking. I've seen my dad being
Yeah.
treated like this. I've seen other people being treated like this. Like, yeah. So now that I know better, now that I've been in better workplaces where I'm actually valued, I could never go back to that. So
Um.
Yeah, but one thing that I think we're veering more towards like school or whatnot, right? Like, how do you feel like the professors like, or like, I don't know, like just in like the classroom environment, because for me, when like regardless about how like other people like treat me or whatnot, right? I feel like the teachers or like the professors are very welcoming. They never like talk down to me because I'm a girl or anything.
I love that. I love that. You know, I honestly have such a good impression of Carleton professors, the ones that actually put in a lot of effort, because I feel like they actually want you to pass. And I never got that vibe at Waterloo. It felt like they were waiting for us to fail. Like, genuinely, I never went to a TA office hour. I never went to a professor office hour because I was so intimidated. Like,
Oh,
I felt like everybody was saying
okay.
I'm stupid. Yeah,
So
yeah.
you said earlier that you were surprised at, like, I guess maybe it was like how difficult Carlton was. You said like it was uh uh I can't remember exactly what you said, but you said that uh like you keep describing how much harder Waterloo was, but like how does that compare to Carlton? Because you were saying that Carlton is still pretty difficult.
Yeah, so I didn't. I don't think I said that Carlton is difficult. I just said that the content and like the stuff that we learn is really important. Like I like the direction that we go in Carlton, like the streams, for example, that kind of thing. And I do find Carlton challenging sometimes because it's still new material for me. Like I didn't actually complete a lot of I didn't complete my degree at Waterloo, so I still have a lot to learn. So it's been fun so far learning new stuff and difficulty level. So I find that the real challenge at the University of Waterloo was that it's really hard to get TA or professor support. So at
Mm,
Carleton, I think we do an amazing job with having so many TAs, so accessible. Professors are so accessible. You can email them, they'll reply. Like, I find that really surprising because I didn't know university could be so supportive before in my life, you know? Like, and like, I find it so awesome. Like, there's some professors I've emailed, there's TAs I've spoken to, asked about marks, that kind of thing. And we didn't really have that kind of support system at Waterloo regarding courses. You either pass or you fail, and that's it, and you repeat it. You know, so you couldn't like really ask people for help. Like it was kind of harder to do it, and people would feel scared. Like they'd sometimes ask questions anonymously on Piazza or something, but you didn't feel like you could have an open conversation with the professor as much. So here at Carleton, it's awesome that you got support. You got like peers helping you, willing to help you out, that kind of thing. So I love that. Like I feel like it does make school like I don't think it makes school easier because I don't think school is easy, period. But it does make school a lot like less painful, which I think is so important. It shouldn't be painful. You shouldn't be worried about failing. You know, like you shouldn't have to cry about it. And like yeah, so that's one of the things I love about Carleton is that you can get support for your courses.
mm,
That's really good. And actually, well, kind of related on that note, like you're saying, school doesn't have to be painful. Um, like in your experience, how has online school been for you? Like with this whole crazy year that just happened. How was like
Oh
online
my
school? How,
god.
like what was your experience with it?
Oh my goodness. So online school has been a first. Okay, I have ADHD. I'm just gonna come out and say that I have ADHD. So generally speaking, ADHD plus online school or remote learning is a disaster. Like I'm sure there are some people out there with ADHD who are like doing better than me. I hope so. But I've been struggling so much, and it's taking some time for me to readjust my expectations. Because I came in thinking like, hey, I'm going to treat this like a normal school term, do all these things, all these courses, blah blah blah. Like do all of this. It's gonna be totally fine. And then without the structure of school, without the interaction, without going to class, meeting people, seeing people's faces, you need that kind of stimulation, especially someone with ADHD needs that desperately to feel like they can be productive. So I don't have that right now, and it's been challenging. Like there have been times where I don't feel motivated enough to do exams. So like for example, last term I'm gonna be really open with you. Last term I started off with 5 courses. I ended up dropping them all like in November-ish because it just wasn't working out. It just wasn't going forward. I literally could not for the life of me get myself together to read or do anything. And I was so burnt out because I was also applying to jobs. I got to the point where I couldn't even read anymore. Like I'd read a line, I wouldn't understand what it was. I couldn't like it felt like I was having serious comprehension problems, like real struggle with that. And it was so hard. So I had to drop all those courses. It just wasn't gonna happen. And at the time I was like, wow, I'm such a failure. Like I left Waterloo only to fail again. Like, like, hey, this is never gonna happen. I'm never going to graduate. But then I spoke to my doctor, I spoke to other peers with ADHD, and our brains are literally not designed for this. So for people who are doing well and they have a learning disability or ADHD or anything like that, and they are doing well, I think like you're impressive, you're awesome, you're a super person. You're like, yeah, that's amazing because usually we're not designed for this, and it doesn't work out great. And I kind of just basically in my head, I've crossed out this whole year. So like hopefully at the end of this term, I'll have completed 2 courses this whole year. But it's totally fine. I've been in school for this long. Another year is not gonna hurt. I'm not gonna die of old age yet. It's all good. And I think the thing we all should do is really take it easy on ourselves. Lay off all that pressure because even people who are amazingly talented at work, the CEOs, everyone is struggling with productivity right now because it's the environment that we're in. Our brains are not designed and bodies are not designed to be in the same place for so long and just sitting on a computer all day, not going out, not seeing people, in a stressful climate right now. So I think everyone's doing a great job, and it's taken me a long time to be okay with it. But it feels good to not hate myself for struggling, And that's a gift I want to give everybody.
That's really good. Yeah. And like, kind of like related to that note, like just like mental health has become like kind of a like really big topic, especially with, like I was saying earlier, the crazy year that just passed. And so like, um, would like you mentioned you have ADHD. Like, would you say that really like, sorry, I'm having kind of trouble like formulating the question that I'm trying to say here. But like, what I
Okay.
mean is that just especially with online school and like not having that much like stimulus because you're not in person. Would you say that like the quality of education that you're getting and also just like your mental health being affected, do you really feel like it's worth it, like the like online school and stuff? um this is kind of worded weirdly, but I don't mean it worth it in
Yeah,
that
I
sense.
think I
I
know
mean
what
worth
you
it
mean
like,
though. Yeah,
yeah, like
do
worth
do
it
you
as in
think
like
like
'cause,
the stress of online, especially with your learning disability, is like worth it? Like, do you think that like yeah.
Oh, for me personally, or for people in general?
Yeah, like it's kind of like a recommendation for people who also might have like a learning disability and are
Okay.
considering going into online right now. Like, do you think
Mhm.
like it's like manageable?
Yes. Okay. So my answer for that would be like to try it out. So like try it out, see how it goes. So for example, this term I had to basically like the since I dropped all my courses last term, I spent that time 2 months or so, relaxing. I told my mom I'm not gonna open a book, I'm not gonna code a single line. I'm just gonna play video games. I'm gonna be hanging out with my cat because that was so necessary because I had to recharge my brain because it had completely shut down. So I feel like breaks. Make sure you have breaks, and if you need a long break, for example, if you have to take the whole summer off, you have to take the whole term off, your brain is trying to give you a sign that you have to. You have to do that. So for me, for other people, I would say like if you're a bit nervous, try it out. Try it out for like half term. Try it out for a term, and try and give yourself a lighter course load. So right now, I first started this term in January with 3 courses. I ended up dropping one, so now I have two. And for me, that's more than enough with the way I am, with the way my brain is working right now. So that's more than enough, and I'm like, keeping myself busy, that kind of thing. I wouldn't say it's impossible. Like even one course a year is still okay because you're still be going forward. But I do worry that like sometimes if people have like take a whole year off during this climate, during this environment, they might get really depressed also because they're not feeling part of the school community. They're not able to connect with their classmates as much, that kind of thing. Feeling bored and lazy. Not feeling bad about taking a year off. Like these are all still feelings that happen. So if you can do like a couple courses, like one or two, that's great. If not, if you actually can't do that, that's totally fine too. But for me, I felt like it was important to be back in school, even for one or two courses, so I could be connected with my classmates. I could still be involved in stuff, do a little bit of work, that kind of thing. So nothing too crazy, but just to pretend that I'm still in school, because that's
Yeah.
important for your mental health. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like sort of what I'm doing right now because I also have pretty bad
Yeah. No, it's awesome.
ADHD. Yeah. Just like low course load. Yeah.
Exactly.
I can
That's
sympathize so much with like what you're saying. Like it's so hard to manage everything when you don't
It's
have
so
any
hard.
like external stimulus like keeping you busy during a day.
And
Yeah.
structure as well, because you have your async lectures. For us with ADHD, if you don't tell us to sit down and do it at one particular time, we're not going to do it. And it's hard. Like I'm not a
Yeah.
lazy person. I'm a hard worker. It's just so hard to get your motivation and your discipline strong enough to be able to do things when there isn't an external structure in place.
Hmm.
So I empathize. I really do. For like especially with first years who are coming to university with like learning disabilities, ADHD, disabilities in general. Like that's hard. I don't know how I would even do a single course, like that's crazy. But there's support out there. There's peers and classmates and TAs and professors. There's also the Paul Menton Center for Disabilities. And I really recommend all students to find something like a center like that in your university, at your college, because they have like trained professionals that can help you navigate university life easier. Yeah.
mhm. And but would you say that like the courses though, like you're mentioning that there is like a lot of support outlets there, and like a lot of universities are helping out with this like kind of increased need with the whole pandemic. But would you say that like uh the university kind of did a good job into kind of transitioning into that phase and kind of helping supporting students, especially with ADHD and or like other like learning disabilities or like uh other types of like things that they could have. Do you think the university like kind of did a good transition to online school to kind of support that, or do you think there's things that could have been done better?
So that's a really, really good question. Because if you ask me, do you think the university did a good job supporting students? I would say more or less, like the general student without a disability, or without, who's a neurotypical student. I think that the way the structure is designed, it would be, from what I can understand of people without ADHD, like I'm speaking as someone who does have ADHD. So I feel like it's probably works out better for them, like the structure now. But for me personally, like for example, like scratching exams and moving to projects, that has been a complete L for me. Because a project can start earlier, you have to manage your time. And I get an F in time management. Like, that's probably going to be with me for the rest of my life because that's like a symptom, right? So for me, like when something is based on time management, I don't do well. Even though in exams I test pretty well, and that's kind of shocking, surprising to people because because of ADHD and that kind of thing. But it's because you can do it really quickly. I study the night before, like not recommended. I study like as soon as I can, like as close to the date I can, and then when I do my exam, it's okay, it's over. A project, to start before, you have to plan, you get to sit every day, try and motivate yourself. So anything that requires less prolonged motivation over a period of time, I do better in, because I really struggle with continuing things. So for me, I would say that I'm not going to complain about the way university has structured itself, because I realize that we're a minority. We're like it's kind of difficult to have a different structure for every kind of student depending on their needs. I do kind of wish that there had been that like instructors had been a bit more open with students with disabilities. So for example, marks, that kind of thing, like projects, that kind of thing, leaving things to the last minute. But I am accepting of that, the fact that they can't look after every student within their needs.
Yeah.
But I would say that online school in general was not going to be great for a lot of people with disabilities and neurodivergent brains. So
Yeah.
I don't know if the instructors can do any better, really. But I do think that they should have focused. One thing that I will mention, on a session that I will mention, is that a classroom environment with peers is so important. So I know a lot of courses have like tutorials and stuff, but everybody's muted. Nobody's really getting to talk and stuff like that. The TA is just kind of doing their own thing, like showing their own thing. It doesn't feel like a classroom environment. You don't get to ask the professor stuff. So a bit more live stuff where you get to feel like you're in a classroom. You're talking to peers, learning from each other. A bit more group study kind of thing. I know that some courses, especially first year courses, have like a kind of like a group, like they kind of make you do group study stuff. And like it's not fun because you have to do it for a grade, but it's also so important to learn for learning. For a lot of learning styles, that's how they learn. Talking it out. So I think like even upper year courses could probably benefit from like having not necessarily group projects, because that really sucks in an online atmosphere because people just disappear and ghost you.
Yeah.
But I think having sessions where you get to talk to somebody about something, discuss answers, that kind of thing, discuss like solutions. I think it's really important.
Interesting. Yeah. That's a good point. And like and it is true that it's like sometimes it becomes hard for like kind of to include everyone, in the sense that just have enough enough, I guess, like help support channels like for everyone.
Exactly.
And like how they kind of like, and I guess they also have to do it in like in a very like short period of time, so there's that too. And because like this was kind of like super unexpected all of a sudden, right? Like you have to have like the last few months of like the semester where like it hit, it was like, okay, fine, it's just like a few weeks that we have to go through this, and then all of a sudden the whole semester is online. Now all the courses have to be changed and all the whole structure has to be changed. So like that is true that like you can't really like expect it to be perfect right off the bat, because it's something that still has to be like learned as you go. But yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good point.
Go on.
Oh, okay. Wait, hold on. With the discussion group thing, I think that was really like some people hate it, some people love it, but when nobody's talking, I think you said would do a great job in that setting, because I notice when I do it, right, where I just start saying, hey guys, so what do you guys thought about like this? Like they are open to talk, but they just think it's really awkward to start talking. So yeah, I think
you have to be the conversation starter.
Yeah,
I
don't like that when it's for grades. Like I feel like forcing people to be in a discussion group, that sucks. Like that's awful.
Yeah.
But just having channels, like just having like opportunities, or like an environment. For example, on a Discord server, like we all have our courses on Discord now. Who cares about Learn? It's all Discord now. So having channels where people students can get together and talk about stuff. Like jump in and like talk about things. So like, cause this is kind of like the school environment. We talk about assignments. We're not cheating. We're not doing anything wrong or doing anything like academically disintegral, whatever that word is. We're not doing things like that. But we do talk about assignments. Like, what lecture is going to come up here, this kind of thing. Just having engagement between students is really important. So that's I feel like I would have benefited from that. But not for grades. That's really lame. I'm sorry, that's so lame. I hate it. I hate that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
so
it's really good.
Sarah, one final question to sort of wrap things up. Why did you pick computer science? What interests you?
Oh, yeah, okay. So my dad is in technology, and like for the longest time, he was like, "You're gonna love computer science. You're gonna love computer engineering, that kind of thing." And I didn't want to go and do what he was doing because I was rebellious. I am rebellious, I guess. So like for a long time, I was like, trying to. I wanted to do math or like physics or something because those are my interests at school. And I didn't actually go to a high school because I was living abroad. I wasn't in Canada. That taught you computer science at school. So I kind of had to learn on my own. And then when I first started playing around with it, at my dad's like insistence, like at least try it out. I loved it. Like my first programming language was Python, and then I did some C sharp. And I thought it was so fun because it felt like math, but like practical. Like you can actually make stuff. Like I remember making those like timer generator functions, like where you make a timer or like a thing, or even those prime number functions. They're so fun. It just felt like awesome. Like it just felt like so cool. Like there's so much that you can do with math, and it felt like visual math, right? And like I loved it. And I realized that there's so many things that you can go into. And I remember looking into the University of Waterloo. That was my number one dream school, which I got into. Wow, that's crazy to think about now. But I saw that there's so many fields you can go into computer science, and I'm a person who likes having opportunity and variety, which is why I was doing a business double degree as well, because I didn't want to settle. Like I didn't want to choose one thing. I can't ever do that. I want to do a million things. So
Yeah.
for me, it was like, wow, double degree, a computer science, and my dream is it still kind of is my dream. I wanted to have my own tech startup, like my own like thing. Because that was my dad's dream when I was born. He wanted to have a tech company. He actually started one, and then it went bust. But like it was his dream, to have a company that's a family company, a family
Yeah.
startup kind of thing. So that's why I was doing businesses. So I still like business. I really enjoy it. And computer sciences, there's so many things you can go into. I always find something new to learn. I never get bored, and that's really important for me. And like I realized now that I've been diagnosed that that's ADHD. I just thought I was crazy before, I just thought like, oh my gosh, and nothing is interesting enough. But now I know that I just constantly need stimulation. I constantly need new things, and I feel like for the rest of my life, my career and stuff, computer science is going to keep providing that. And I think that's a very good career path for me because there's so much to do.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Is
It's
that
all
what people
connected.
usually say? Is that what people usually say?
I don't know.
Like,
If you were to
I
ask
wonder
me,
what
I'd just be like, "Oh, like I didn't get to take it in high school, so I wanted to take it in university."
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess I've had like 5 years to think about it because I've been in computer science for 5 years. But yeah, and the funny thing is that my sister's in it too. She's a software engineer at U Ottawa now. My brother wants to go into it. It's very much a family thing now.
Oh, so it's very
It's right in the
involved.
family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. The fun thing is I get to talk to my dad about it. Like if I can explain something, like explain a technology, he'll understand what I'm talking about. So we
Yeah.
get to talk about it all the time. Me, my brother, and sister, we're always talking about it. So it's, Elias, it's so funny that you said that family hackathon group. Me and my sister go to hackathons together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Someone,
Yeah.
someone in one of our live viewers said family hackathon group. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to get my high school brother in high school to join hackathons as well, but he's always busy. But like the dream is to have three of us in a hackathon group.
That'd actually be
Mm.
so cool. Yeah.
So like the thing is with that though, was there ever any pressure? Like, did you ever feel pressured to go in because everyone else around you was doing it? Like,
Yeah. So the thing is, I'm the eldest, so the pressure was only from my dad. But for my sister, I feel like there was more pressure because I was at Waterloo, and I was like, "Come to Waterloo, come to Waterloo." I was so diehard about it because I didn't realize how much of a toxic environment it was for like a long time. I thought it was great. I thought it was heaven while I was dying there. So not great. And I wanted my
Yeah.
sister to come so badly. I wanted my sister to be in tech. I wanted her to do computer science instead of software engineering. And it's really funny. It's kind of stupid, but we still argue which is better. Like it's still a thing. Like she's still kind of really like, no, software engineering is better. I'm like, no, computer science is better because we get electives, that kind of thing. We're always arguing about it. It's like a thing. And there was more pressure on her, definitely. There's always more pressure on the middle child. The eldest kind of gets to do whatever they want, sometimes. So like I didn't feel compared to, and she does usually, because she's in the middle. My brother, there's pressure on him as well because we're all in it, and my dad is really into this business dream, so he wants our brother to be in it too. But the good thing is, my brother is really excited about it. He does robotics in high school, so he's part of the first robotics team, that kind of thing. Their team did really well before COVID hit. He cried. Oh my gosh, I think about it now. This is so embarrassing. He's gonna be so embarrassed when he hears this. But he was 15 and he cried because their team got shut down. Like the competition got shut down last year, March. And he felt so
Oh,
bad
that
because he worked
sucks.
so hard. And I felt so
Aw.
bad. He like cried a little. I was like, no, Hassan, we can make robotics at home. He's like, no, we can't.
Damn.
He's really into it. So like we all really like it, and it's fun talking about stuff because I'll be stuck on a problem or like even like like I'm working on something. I'm like, hey, sister Afra, come check this out. Hassan, a good idea to do this? We get to help each other, and like it's fun. I like it because we're all really excited about each other's stuff because we're doing the same thing. Yeah.
That's really cool that you have it like as part of the family. Cause like for me, for me for example, like I'm like the only one in my family that like did computer science. So it's kind of just like, so
Oh, that's so
like
lonely.
so like you're like my parents would ask me like, oh, like what are you doing? And I'd be like, this is what I'm doing. But then I'd have to like kind of
Yeah,
simplify it a little bit.
it's like
Like this is
runes to
what
them.
that
It's like
means.
it's like
They're like, oh, okay,
Egyptian runes they're trying to read.
yeah. So it's kind of like it gets hard sometimes explaining what I do. It's like this is all you have to know is that I'm actually doing work. I'm not just messing around, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Like,
exactly.
I can assure you. Um,
Wait,
uh,
hold on. That's wait. Keep. Do you have something else to say, or I have a budding question that will explode.
oh,
Okay,
okay.
go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
okay, okay. Sarah.
Yes.
Okay, have you ever dated a dude who isn't in computer science or like any of like the tech fields, and like you couldn't talk, like you'd be like, yeah, school is like so hard, whatever. And let's just say, not ripping on any psychology majors or anything, but they seem to like to really complain. And so, has it ever like been so frustrating, or even like, well, probably not your parents because it is a like an engineer, I don't know, tech field.
Yes.
Sorry, I was listening. I promise I was, but yeah, like, has it been so frustrating trying to explain to someone? No, this is like next tier type of work, man.
That's such a funny question. That's a funny question. It's really funny that you asked that. Personally speaking, I don't have a lot of university friends outside of computer science because I feel like I in first term I did make friends in my electives. I actually joined an elective to make friends. Because I had no friends. It took so long to make friends here. So like they're cool. We have a lot of common interests, like things that we do together. But they don't really get the stuff that I'm passionate about. And this is gonna sound so nerdy, but I'm passionate about computer science. Like I hang out, I do this for fun. Talk about it. I'm part of the CCSS, that kind of thing. Like I don't code as much as I'd like to because ADHD, sitting down doing something not gonna happen. But talking about it, learning from people, I love that shit. So like, excuse my language. So I do that a lot. And like for me, for people who aren't into it, it's kind of like, I ran out of things to talk about. I kind of want to talk about Google now. I kind of want to talk about this. I kind of want to talk about hackathons. I kind of want to do a hackathon. Like, come with me. It's like there's like kind of a gap there. So the people that I've dated, they've mostly been in tech. My yeah, mostly been in tech. One time I had a really smart boyfriend who went to Silicon Valley, and that was like, wow, man, he's so smart. I'm not. And it kind of was a thing. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so dumb. But whatever. People have different talents, that kind of thing. I'm doing pretty well for myself now. I'm pretty happy to be where I am. So that was like the Waterloo culture. It's like it's so funny at Waterloo. The couples, like if couples kind of have to be at the same level. Like this is kind of like just how people think of you. Like it's not a big thing. It's not like high school where people are judging you or whatever. But like the most popular couples are the people who are like at the same level, working at the same company, working at Fang together, that kind of thing. It's so stupid.
That is kind of
Yeah, so that was
funny.
really funny. That was really funny. And I have dated like outside of computer science as well. But most of the guys I've met have been in computer science because I meet them at university or clubs, that kind of thing. I did date a guy who was in like mechanical engineering, so that was a bit different. And I was so impressed with him. Like he was so smart. Like this dude built rockets, And I was like, wow, this is actually cooler than what I do. Like I freaking make a website. This guy's making rockets. Like, I was really impressed with him. So like that was awesome. I've never really dated someone outside. Like I never really dated someone outside of tech. I did in high school maybe a little bit, yeah. But yeah, I feel like I do have a lot of respect for people in humanities, that kind of thing. Because I think about it, like the electives I took were painful for me because there's a lot of readings and stuff. So for me, coding is easier than like doing all those readings, writing an essay, because that's a lot of work. That's a lot of mental concentration. So I have a lot of respect for people who do that kind of thing. There's no judgment from me. It's all awesome. And I like to talk about their research. I like to talk about the stuff they do. I love talking about history, that kind of thing. So I feel like I'd still find common ground with them, but like I couldn't sit down and code with them. They couldn't help me with code, which is what I need in a relationship, okay?
Yeah.
So they couldn't help me as much as I'd like them to. I wouldn't be able to help them. Like it's always fun to have someone you have like a lot in common with, but I also like variety and difference as well. So I'm pretty open, Cool.
Okay. And I know Max said last point, but this is kind of like a question that I had that I wanted to ask. So you brought up the CCSS and then how you're part of it.
Yes.
So I guess like it helped with making friends too. But like what was what was your goal like being in CCSS? Like what did you want to like kind of I guess bring up or change or like kind of get from being part of the CCSS? If you get what I'm saying.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually last year for this coming year, I ran for director of social, and it was fun campaigning. So I was like, cool events. We're gonna play League, which I don't even play, but I tried. So it's kind of it's always interesting trying to like campaign or trying to trying to make things for people that which you don't have common interests with. So for example, gaming and stuff. I very recently became a gamer. This is all new for me. You know, like I wasn't a gamer before this. I used to play like RuneScape, you know, okay? So I wasn't really into the scene. So like it was fun, you know, trying to come up with things. I didn't win the election, but it was still really fun to run. And I was later appointed communications officer. So what I do is basically I write captions for all the posts, like any media you see, any promotion that you see, I've written it. And that's really fun because you get to make it fun and exciting, and you want people to come. And I think I've been doing a pretty good job because I've had people say like, "Wow, this is so cool." Like, thank you. Like, I love being appreciated for that because promotion is really important for any club. So I put a lot of work into that. And Chantel, our graphic designer, makes the best graphics. I will say, like the best graphics. Like she's amazing. Okay,
I
she's
can
awesome.
confirm.
Check out our Instagram. So good. You know, so it's been fun. And like the good thing about our role is like we don't have to like, you know, we don't have a platform. Like we don't have like, oh my god, we didn't have to do a speech to be like, we're gonna make this a better place or whatever. But we still do that. You know, we still get to help out. We still get to do things. I still bring up my ideas, that kind of thing. I've been super involved, even outside of my role. You know, even apart from my role, I've been really involved in moderating the Discord and connecting with people, connecting with first years especially, because you know this is a hard year for them. This is their first year of university, and they're like all alone. So I make it my mission to do that because I think it's really important for the health of the community and the health of the program itself for people to make connections, because connections become network, you know, and network becomes, you know, your future career, that kind of thing. And you also get to learn so much from each other, and mentorship is something really important to me. So in all the roles that I've been doing, I've taken on a informal, even sometimes formal, like official mentorship role because it's something I love to do. So I wouldn't say that I'm super successful, that I'm doing amazing, that, you know, my GPA is perfect, that kind of thing. But over my 5 years of school, I've learned what to do and what not to do, hopefully, you know? And I can help people out with that. And I think that's the most fun part of socializing, because you get to help people. So that's been my goal, you could say, about being involved with the community, and I plan to keep on doing that. Yeah.
Nice. And I overheard you once talking about your eventual goal of becoming the president of the CCSS.
Oh, yes, this is a bit informal because we haven't like nominated anybody yet. It's gonna happen like in a week, in a bit. But yeah, I do kind of want to run for the president of CCSS because we need a president, first of all. Second,
Yeah.
I think it'd be really fun. I have like a couple fun ideas, you know, to make people feel more involved, that kind of thing. We want to have like everybody come into society, because the thing about virtual is our Discord, there's no limits on space. We have like unlimited sofas. Whereas in the lounge, like we couldn't do as much outreach. We couldn't, you know, fit everybody in there. But here, online, virtually, yeah, I want 200 people in here. Like I want 200 people in our voice channels. Like we're gonna do it. You know, it's gonna be awesome. And I really want people to feel involved. You know, I want to connect upper years with first years, that kind of thing. Mentorship, hackathons, projects, all that. So it's gonna be really cool. I'm excited.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to see how everything unfolds.
Yeah, it's so exciting. And by the way, anybody listening and also the host on here, make sure if you're interested to run for an executive position for nomination, because it should be really fun. I'm really excited to see the elections. I want it to be exciting. Like a lot of people running, a lot of ideas, because I feel like people are so creative, especially like first years. We love to see first years. Personally love to see first years. Like even in the workplace, whenever whenever I was in a position where my employers would be hiring more people and I'd be involved in the interview process, like sometimes interviewing somebody with them, I would want the first years to come, because I think first years are so valuable. I think young people are so valuable in computer science and in general because they have so many ideas, there's so much passion. And to me, that's the most important thing. It trumps skill every time, because with passion, you can learn anything. You know, and like if you have like a person who's passionate, a person who isn't passionate, but the person who isn't passionate is more skilled, after a couple years, the passionate person will be leagues ahead. You know, that's life. You know, your passion carries you through it. And yeah, that's why I have so much like love and admiration for first years who are excited to learn, who want to come in here and do stuff. Like I want to like open the road for you, you know, like the red carpet, open, like, you know, cut the ribbon thing. Yeah, that's for you guys, you know. So yes, I got really excited there, but yes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and like running, just like looking at how the CCSS does things, right? The events that they run, super interesting, and like even actually like I was personally considering running for like an executive position too at some point, because it's it's very interesting, and like I kind of want to be a part of it, right? And but yeah, like so for anyone listening, for any Carleton students that want to you know, run for an executive position for CCSS, it's like look out for when the announcement comes out to like and just like, you know, just go for it. Like even if like just for the experience too. Like even if you don't like you don't have to win, just the experience itself is very valuable. Like just getting out of that, right? Right, and we did go a little bit over time, but did anyone want to bring up any last minute points?
No, I
No, sir.
think that's good.
Right. Well,
having me. Thank you guys. This is so fun.
Yeah,
This
thank
is
you for
awesome.
coming. You're a
Thank you
great
for
guest.
coming.
You're
Yeah.
awesome. You guys are smart. I love that you. I'm gonna support you guys so much. Like, I want to make sure everybody watches this. Like, I'm gonna do it.
I think
know,
that
people are
I think that you brought up a lot of important points and
I'm glad.
things that I think a lot of people will learn from if they watch this.
For sure.
That's awesome.
And
Yeah.
and like we went over time, but I'm pretty sure like anyone listening, like they'll appreciate like everything that's brought up here, so there wouldn't be any problem. And for those of you who made it to the end, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for checking it out. And we'll see you guys next time.
Yep.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.
See you guys next time on Comment It Out.
Comment it out. Comment it out. Out.